It is about the USA Rugby Men's Eagles going and finally putting their 30-man roster, getting ready for the 2 test matches that we have this summer. Obviously, Romania coming up on July 5th, and then having Scotland coming up on July, or what is the date? Coming up on July 12th in DC. So 2 games that I think create or opposite dynamics in terms of what we need from them, but really an opportunity to see what this Scott Lawerence program and what this Scott Lawerence beginning pool for the 2027 Rugby World Cup, but really for 2031 Rugby World Cup overall. And honestly, you know what? I thought this was actually a pretty solid, bloody lineup of players that we had breaking down into it. And then we're going to talk about a few of them. Of course, like I said, the key is being able to play against Romania and Scotland. I think for the Romania game, though, that one is definitely far more of a warm-up. All right. Now, if you guys don't remember, Romania was in the Rugby World Cup. I don't know how they made it into it, but they made it into it and proceeded to be the absolute whipping boy for everybody. They were over their heads and under their skis with the absolute battle whippings that they received in pool play. But again, a team that clearly was still able to make it into the Rugby World Cup. They won the games they needed to when it mattered most, leading to that. And, hey, that's still something that we need to watch out for. The U.S. hasn't done well enough in recent years to, not at least have that be a concern in some way, shape, or form. So, hey, man, look, shout out to them. But I do think this is an opportunity to be able to see really what the players are able to do, an easier opponent that we should beat. Like, we should beat Romania. Like, it would be very inexcusable for us to lose to a team like Romania. But it is one that I do believe that we have, and that would be a great one. But the real test is going to be whenever we go up against Scotland. And of course, obviously, Scotland, where they're going to be coming in hard. They got the best fly half in the guy from Bath, Finn Russell. And this is a team that is legitimately what we call best of worst of the best, or middle tier of the best, like always willing to upset a team in the Six Nations, upset when it, can get theirs in. They can beat the teams that aren't good, and they can beat the teams that are middle tier, but they never can just get it over the top, like that. So if we can compete against a Scotland team who we haven't really done much against since 2014, 2015. I think we might have gotten a win against them in 2018. But Scotland is a tier 1 team that constantly has our number. But it'll be a very good test match for us to be able to figure something out. So this roster, I believe, really is going to be one that takes advantage of the fact that we have all professional players, and 2, helps us to understand how the player pool funnel is really working. And also the anthem is definitely still a work in progress. Definitely still very much a work in progress. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. We're going to break it down into a little bit of parts. First off, we're going to talk about the props, hooker, locks. I really wanted to talk about 4 players because I don't know all the players that well. Forgive me, my MLR knowledge is still fairly developing. But there was 4 players that really did stand out to me from this that I thought would be incredibly impactful and are really good names. First off is Jake Turnbull, who I remember whenever he was with Seattle Seawolves. He's now with the Anthem. This is a prop who actually really makes an impact. Like, he's very tough within the scrums, and he can run. Like, he's not a heavy-footed person. Like, he got that little Mike Allstott in him. For those who don't know, it's okay. It's okay if you don't need to know. But I think he's got that Mike Allstott in him that can really make a difference on that. Next is Paul Mullen, who's with the Utah Warriors. And I felt like Paul Mullen is, again, a great selection for the 30-man. Really great would be a great opposing side for Jake Turnbull. powerful. Both of them have already had USA Rugby Eagles experience. I think Paul Mullins was part of the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Not that that really says very much because that team didn't win anything, but I do feel like they now have a large, what do they call it? Amount of work play under their belt. Now, obviously, synchronization as a USA team is going to be really important, but I do feel like these are two really good props to be able to add in there. Then you got Dylan Fawcett, aka the Butcher, as called by Matt McCarthy. Dylan Fawcett, who was with the Ironworkers until they weren't the Ironworkers, and now he is currently playing with the Chicago Hounds. And I think that he's been good. He's always been into play, fast player. He knows how to get into the ruck. He knows how to get the ball out. He's been hard-nosed. Now, the irony with all these is that they are all insert foreign Americans. So I'm not mad at it. It's just, it's a funny little aspect. Obviously, Dylan Fawcett, Irish. Paul Mullins, Irish. Jake Turnbull, I believe, is Australian American. And then lastly, on this list that I think is pretty cool to watch, Cam Dolan, who is just notoriously been a figurehead in USA Rugby, plays for New Orleans Gold, really great guy out of Florida, obviously initially, but like he is veteran lock who plays as elite as anybody does. I think the only reason he never really didn't play very much overseas is because he just didn't want to. He wanted to be at home, and I think that makes sense, but he could have easily. I think he already did. He did play overseas. He did play overseas. Who's that he played for? Yeah, he played for Nottingham. He played for Cardiff. Yeah, he played for Cardiff and played for Northampton Saints. Like, he is absolutely a monster, an absolute monster at lock. And I feel like against Romania should do some damage. You know, he's getting long in the tooth. I'm not gonna front, but you know, he's still got a lot of legs underneath him. Ain't nothing to worry about on that one. All right. So next, I want to look at the next section, which is the flankers, and flankers, fly halves, number 9, that was put in, and centers. Two people really stood out for me in this one that I think are going to be game changers. Number 1, AJ McGinty is on the list. AJ McGinty coming back over from Bristol Bears, absolute beast of a team, even though they couldn't do anything in the Premiership. But him being back always is a fixture. It's always an advantage. Knows how to maneuver the ball, knows how to kick. That one's going to make the difference. We know what AJ McGinty can do. He's been doing this for like 15 years now, or it feels like 15 years. Probably it's closer to like 10 years. But it's just we know how he goes. The other one is Ruben de Haas, who plays in South Africa for Charlotte, for Cheetahs. This is one where I think, you know, he had his time with the Gilgronis, really fast passing scrum half, and that scrum half to fly half connection is going to be the biggest difference maker, especially when it comes to playing against Scotland on the July 12th. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing us have a scrum half that can get the ball out. Now, he's been a bit player for most of where he's been at, but I think that's just because he's had really a lot of talent in front of him. He did play for the Gilgronis, did well with them, did solid with them. And obviously played for the Cheetahs. He's gotten a few teams under his belt there. But I think that connection of Ruben de Haas going over to get into AJ McGinty is going to make leaps and bounds in terms of their decision and how quickly the offense, especially Scott Lawerence, who likes to use a lot of sweeping plays to be able to offset the defense and really open up the inside space for forwards and for his backs, really. Like, open it up down the middle so you can cut through. That's, if you watch him at Life University, you see the same thing. Open it up wide, and then cut it inside, hit the pods, cut, and, you know, pretty solid spacing for that one. Next, we got and the last set. I'm not gonna go into the non-traveling reserves. I'm sorry, this is not the biggest deal, but it was the wings. And this is the ones, like the triplet is really Christian Dyer, Nate Augsburger, and Connor Mooningham, who I think is an awesome combination there. Nate Augsburger, who is doing so well with Chicago Hounds, even though Chicago Hounds are kind of sucking and losing a lot in a row right now. But I think whenever he moved there from San Diego, really big play. Obviously, he's a veteran of this, so he knows what he's doing when it comes to that play. But Christian Dyer with the Sabercat, tough nose swing. Like tough nose wing. That's what we need from our wings, especially playing in these test matches. A lot more ability to take contact and also to be able to break tackles. Not just trying to speed out and get locked in, but even more importantly, know how to tackle well. These are the two that really make it. And the addition of Connor Mooningham, who's playing with Seattle Seawolves, formerly Life University, I think that one is going to be about how well you can tackle the edges, which again strengthens what happens in the middle, which is where Scott Lawerence loves to play in. Get the forwards into the work and really make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do and make sure these teams are playing out. So I think this is a really solid 30-man squad. I do hope that we see a 2-0 result that comes out from this July 5th, but I have hope in this one. It feels like you got a solid set of new players, a solid set of older players. Everybody seems to have an experience that is legitimate. And of course, the daily training regimen, because they all play in the MLR, helps. And hopefully the workload is actually equal, because I remember the last time we had this really over the course of the last 4 years, the complaint was that MLR has an easier conditioning regimen than the international, and the players were not converting very well. I think that's probably changing. There's a lot more partnership because, hey, these games are being played in MLR stadiums, so it'd be in the benefit of the MLR to be part of that development. And of course, the anthem being a part of this is a byproduct of Scott Lawrence's program to try and develop these teams, get ready for the 2031 Rugby World Cup in the USA. You got to be able to do what you're supposed to do. Do what you're supposed to do out of this. That's all I'm trying to say. So let me know what you guys think. What is your thoughts when it comes to the 30-man roster that comes for the USA Eagles? Do you feel like we finally can kind of maybe win some games, like some real games? No snoozers, no more like of this, I want to call it the COVID slump that we've been having. And even though it technically started before COVID, I feel like 2019 was a horrible year for USA Rugby Eagles, in 2018 too. But do you think we can actually win a game? Do you think Scott Lawerence is now putting together a competent team? Man, I want to hear it. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you feel about it. I'm here with it. We're getting 2-0 with it.
Don't you love a great ketogenic family? My name is Gifte Belu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Food. I wanted to talk to you about one of our top baking mixes, and that is our ketogenic baking mixes. We got a ketogenic seed baking mix, our ketogenic almond baking mix, and of course, our ketogenic coconut baking mix. Now, what is so important about it being ketogenic? Now, for those who don't know, ketogenic means that it is utilizing low carbs to be able to eat from. The point of it is so that your body will naturally activate burning from your fat and be able to sustain off your proteins rather than feeding your body carbohydrates and your body simply burning that and you just don't lose weight. And so whenever you're doing that process, it's incredibly difficult. And of course, you're always going to have a craving for wanting to eat the breads and the carbs that you typically would have. With our keto baking mixes, you can have the pancakes, the waffles, the cookies, the cakes, the pizza crust that you absolutely desire without sacrificing the work, your diet, and obviously the results that you're trying to get. All our ketogenic baking mixes are gluten-free, grain-free, plant-based, and absolutely loaded with natural vitamins and minerals. We want to make sure that they are low net carb, they have no added sugar, they are protein rich, they have good healthy fats, But even more importantly, they have a
Low
glycemic level. So for those who are diabetic and you're also still trying to find something, we have the baking mixes that are for you. And I'm sure you're wondering, why make 3 versions of them if they all are basically doing the same thing? Well, we wanted to make sure, as always, that we are trying to specialize to your dietary need. So with our ketogenic coconut, we wanted to give you a version that allows you to have a sweeter bread without sacrificing your diet. But it provides you things that you can make with your cakes, you can make your cookies, but you can be able to not have to lose your mind trying to find things that can satiate the taste without ruining your diet. With our ketogenic almond baking mix, that is one that has probably the highest protein content. It allows you to be able to control your blood sugar levels, reduce your blood pressure, lower cholesterol levels, and of course, it goes to promoting weight loss and being able to control the hunger. And for our ketogenic seed, this is for those who have a nut allergy and they can't take anything like the almonds. So we want to give them still the same thing. You can still make your bread. You can still make your pizza crust. You can still make your cakes and your buns and your muffins, but you don't have to worry about having an allergic reaction. You definitely can go check out the ketogenic line of products at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, keep up with your diet, get the foods that are necessary to keep you going, and let's get the results that you absolutely deserve. Let's go.